So it really helps to combine those two. And it's the same when I go to Nigeria, when I come to Ethiopia, when I go anywhere. It's like I see, of course, you see what exists, but in order for me to fully grasp what exists, I need to put it into data, because don't forget that our mind can be biased. So to avoid that biasness, I would rather work with data. Then I know that, of course, I have my biased way of thinking, but data never lies. So
You make the data though.
we make the data, but remember, when you map it, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why most times when people work in data projects, they don't work alone. They work with, you either work with somebody else.
True.
Right?
So there's a consensus.
There's a consensus, exactly.
We got this. Hi. This is our first... my first thing. I don't know what to call this podcast.
I don't know what to call this either.
And we don't know most things, as you can tell. We have this maximalist concept. We have this amazing guest.
We have this amazing host.
I guess. We're yet to find out if I can do this hosting thing, but we have something. Yeah? Yeah. What is your name? What do you do? Where were you born? Like just the basics when you introduce yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, my name is Agnes Agada. I'm almost 30. Looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it. I grew up. I was born in Nigeria. Raised in different other countries, and also have developed myself in other environments as well. My childhood is quite interesting. You know, it has blues and greens and reds, but I choose the blues because the blues are a bit more comfortable to deal with, and the greens basically propel you to see further, to be hopeful. And yeah, I think it's really nice that you're doing this, Winta, because I really admire you. You are very reflective as a person and very intuitive, and she gets very shy when she gets compliments. So this is going to be an interesting first take. How about that?
We're not gonna have time for a second take.
Oh well, we're just gonna take it as is, as raw as we can go. How about that? And that is when someone walks in. Yeah. Here you go.
Yeah. I think this is my first episode, so I'm just Saudi born, now Ethiopia based. We're in Ethiopia. Yeah, we're in Addis Ababa, the capital. I'm not disclosing any further information.
Security reasons. For security. Yeah.
And I met Agnes 5 years, right?
5 years.
5 years?
Yeah.
Goodness, 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
And she was my sister's classmate. And she wasn't my classmate, but she started a program, and she started a proper project. And it was one of the first times I saw someone my age start something from scratch and take it really seriously. Put the word out, try to find people who would join it, like-minded people, or people who wanted to explore that specific venue. So that is where we started, and it went into a personal relationship and a friendship that lasted till now. And I think that would lead me to my next question. Yes, working and studying in Ethiopia.
Yes.
What was that like?
Oh my goodness. I have to say, let me circle back a bit on my first experience coming to Ethiopia, right? The first few days I was in Ethiopia, I will not lie to you if I say that I was a bit taken aback. Because when I first came in, of course I came in at night, so I didn't really see a lot. I had never really read a lot about Ethiopia. I have never heard a lot about Ethiopia, but I knew that Ethiopia was, one thing I knew for sure was the land, the land quote unquote size, the land mass of Ethiopia and the population of Ethiopia, the language, the fact that, coffee was quote unquote first found here, according to what we know. And that Ethiopia has unique, food and pastries and
pastries.
I mean, she's rolling her eyes now, but seriously, the donut,
Bombolino.
Bombolino, oh my gosh! First time I tried Bombolino, I was like, maybe I'll stay in Ethiopia.
Oh.
Bombolino did it for me, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm that simple of a person. But I enjoyed it so much. I enjoyed Bombolino so much. One of the experiences I had in the first few days was that I went to a kiosk and I asked the guy, I'm sorry, do you have Coke? Because my mom had asked me to get her soda. And I went there and I said, do you have Coke? And the guy looked at me with shock. He's like, Coke? And he didn't speak English, but I'm sure Coke to him meant like cocaine. And then there was somebody else who was sitting around him who spoke English. And then he just got up really fast. And then he said, you mean coca? Coca. And that's when I learned what coca means in Amariña. So coca means Coca-Cola. And that, right? Is it coca, right?
Yeah. I've just never
thought about it.
Yeah. Like someone would come and go, Coke.
Yeah, I was like, Coke. I was like, oh shit, coca. But it was nice. I will say for me, one thing that kept me here was the people. Is the fact that the people, just like where I come from in Nigeria, the people here are very open to communal experiences. I like that because I grew up from that. You know, people are very open to communal experiences here. People are very open to listening to you. People are very open to assisting. And I find that very loving, to be honest. It's such a hospitable behavior to experience in a country where you've never, been to before, and it's something you're discovering. And of course, at the time, this was like 5 years ago. At the time, Ethiopia, I will say, was not as receptive to foreigners as it is now. So I think a lot of my hesitation to stay initially came from that. I was more like, but if they're so, in my head back then, if they're so nationalistic, what am I doing here? I need a place that is more open to experiences, and I need people who are more, willing to, and that was me putting expectations in a country I didn't give chance to learn at the time. So I said, you know what? Rather than making all these dumb excuses as to why I wouldn't stay in Ethiopia, why not find 2 reasons that would keep me here in Ethiopia? And the first thing was I looked at an opportunity in the community, and that's when I thought, why don't I expand Prime Basements to Ethiopia? Because Prime Basement back then used to be just in Nigeria.
I'm just... So it started in Nigeria?
It started in Nigeria.
Officially?
It started officially. Yeah. It started in 2013, actually. I think it happened because I had studied biomedical engineering at a school in Nigeria for a few years. And one of the things that bothered me the most was the fact that when people were done with schools, they didn't get jobs. They didn't get an opportunity to expand, their knowledge and their understanding. And of course, some would say, yeah, but in a tough society, that is where you create the greatest of the greatest. But they're not a lot of people who have access to certain opportunities that would make them great. So seeing that, and also seeing that in Ethiopia, actually made me get inspired to create that here in Ethiopia. And it made me come closer to you. It brought me closer to you. And I will always remember the first time I read an article that you wrote, and I said, this girl has to write for me. Like the way you write with such charisma and such detail, and the way you carry the reader through your experience, and how you carry the reader through reflection as well, is one thing I liked about you. So you're not just writing based on a biased you're not writing based on the fact that you are uninformed and you just want to tell people what you know. You're writing as an open communicator. You're saying, in this area, there might be some more to research on. In this area, this is what I'm certain about. And I liked that. That was the kind of writer I needed on my team. And you brought a spark to the team that I never thought I needed. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Agnes.
For sure.
Damn. I don't know what piece. What piece did you read?
Well, it's been 5 years, Winta. It's been 5 years. I'm just like
I cringe when I read writing that I posted back then. I'm just like, I want to put down all the blogs and like whatever I put up. I'm just like, ugh. That is, yeah. It's used. So yeah, hearing someone experience, even though when you write something and you put it out, you usually expect it to be read, right? That is the obvious thing. When you make a film, you expect the film to be watched. When you write, you expect people to read it. And yet, every time someone's like, oh yeah, I read this piece that you wrote, I'm just like, you read it? Like, it's still something that is like, it's a very intimate experience to have something out there, and to have it in that raw form of like just words, and then someone to consume it alone and have their own thoughts and like digest it and then come back to you and say, oh, this is what I interpreted it as, or this is what it reminded me of. And they expand it to ways that you never imagined in your life, or you never thought of when you were writing it, like how or like what tangents that piece would take in someone else's mind. So
but that also is an evidence of your mind as well. It's an evidence, it tells a lot about how your mind operates, is that you are beyond surface level. I think surface level is relative for a lot of people, but my idea of what a surface level is that there are people who write based on things that are quote unquote already known by majority of society, and they feel like they're teaching. It's sort of mansplaining, but from a writer's perspective, it's like a writer explaining what people already know. But then again, I don't believe knowledge is wasted. But your way of writing is more so that it helps the writer to reflect. It helps the writer to think. It helps the writer to become intuitive about what they're reading. And I think that's why, people are interested in reading what you write, because you're not just a writer that writes her perspective, you're a writer that questions perspective when you write.
But you're also, thank you, but you're also very intuitive, honestly. Like, you're very perceptive of even places where, like, writing, you put it out, you're ready to be judged. But, like, I think you also take cues from places or surroundings or things that are not meant to be presented or judged. And it's still, like, you're very, like, this morning, you're like, you were on your phone, you're in sleep, and I'm just like, okay, I did all those things.
Yeah.
I admit, but like, why do you,
why
do you observe this? Why do you notice this? Yeah, like, it's been hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, you notice. And I don't think all the credit goes to the person who writes. Like, someone said something about how the artist does 50% of the work, and then the remaining is like what people feed into it. Agnes is here on a visit from Denmark.
Yeah.
She currently is based in Copenhagen, and she is here on vacation. This is like her last, I think, second week.
Yeah, and my last few days as well. It's sad. But
why visit here? Like, after just spending 4 years?
I mean, honestly, I have this rule that if I'm going to invest a lot of money, it should be in an African country. And the reason I chose Ethiopia is because I have family, like friends that have turned family here. There's good weather, there's coffee. So why not? And a lot of times, of course, you want to, visit other parts of the world, and you want to explore other parts of the world, which is something I love doing, by the way. But it never hurts to just go back to where it feels like home. Nigeria will always be number one home for me. But of all the places I've been to and lived in, I think Ethiopia for me feels more like Nigeria, because again, the communal behavior for me stands out a lot. That's something you will definitely see across a lot of African countries and a lot of societies that are very communal based, But the reason Ethiopia is very special for me is that I don't know how to describe it. It's the fact that every time I meet people like you, who's my friend, it feels like it's just yesterday. It feels like we just hugged and said goodbye yesterday, and today we're seeing each other again. And it's the fact that the feeling is still there, the relativeness is still there, and the love is still there, So why not? Why not Ethiopia? This is where my family is. This is where my friends who's become family is. So why not?
Found family.
This is an eventful podcast.
This is a Friday morning.
Yeah.
Chill day. And I had breakfast. Did you have breakfast?
We did.
You didn't have breakfast?
Yeah, I had dinner for breakfast. I had dorowet, by the way.
Girl does not eat.
Girl eats.
And girl eats twice a day, max. Makes you... Oh, no, I'm going to attack you for last night's dinner like that. That was an abomination. That was mean.
But I did say I was going to eat it today for lunch. How about that? So we're not
We were
wasting.
not going to... I ate your injera.
You ate my injera for breakfast?
Yes.
And you're expecting me to look forward to lunch? Did you eat my pasta?
I don't like pasta.
Oh, so I'm going to have it for lunch then. Oh my God.
We returned the pasta.
You did what now?
And I ate the injera.
What did you do
She
with
was trying to eat pasta with injera. And I took the injera and I had my breakfast with it, my farfar, my sils and
It's food.
eggs.
It's food.
And she left so much injera. I had half my breakfast. And I added more injera because
I feel
love
like
injera.
you're shaming me right now
For not eating in my house, making me feel like
a terrible host.
No.
But you're
You
not.
deserve to be-
If
deserve to
anything,
be
you've been
shamed.
more than welcoming and more than a host.
You're not eating.
You're like my adopted sister now. Oh, I'm the adopted one in the family.
She
She has
adopted.
amazing sisters, by the way, y'all. Do not shoot your shot.
One of them is a
We're
camera.
very critical. Very critical. Yeah.
One of them is a camera. Set the woman who set the lighting and the
Yes.
camera. I can't believe I'm calling her. She's my
She is.
My baby
She
sister.
is our sister. Okay. If
Our
you're
big
shooting shots, come through us. Just saying.
Yeah.
We are. We have standards. Standards
Yeah.
of.
Auditions.
Yeah, auditions and all. So yeah.
She's a precious.
She's a precious jewel.
being.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
So what is an African enthusiast?
African
What
enthusiast?
What does that look like?
Yes.
And how do you apply that to your work now, or
Yeah.
how does it inform the things that you're passionate about and the things you're working on?
Absolutely. Being an African in today's society, I have to say I'm blessed to be an African in today's society.
Okay.
Because I have the opportunity to both experience the unfortunate assumptions people have of what an African woman should be like or should act like or should know, versus the opportunity I have to actually be the African woman I am. So there's the assumption that comes with you being an African woman, and then there's the being an African woman. And I think being African in today's society, again, is a blessing because we are living in a time when the internet exists. There is no limitation. There is no limitation to what you can be as a person. But of course, in today's day and age, you still have people who don't have access to the internet. So for me, being an African enthusiast means that having all those challenges that comes with being an African cannot stop me from being enthusiastic about life. So as an African enthusiast, my role of representing as an African is staying positive. It's being realistic as I go along the way, but also being enthusiastic about the future, because that's the only way I can live my true story as an African. I come from a society where people believe have nothing, but yet people are so happy. So why should I lose that along the way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why in my head when I read that I thought you meant you are enthusiastic about what is African.
Well, that too.
Is it a wordplay? Like, is it both?
It could be both. It could be both. You know me. I love this continent so much because, for good and for bad, it's been through a lot. Yes, that would be a whole nother conversation. For good and for bad, the continent has been through a lot. But one thing I love about the continent is that every country you go to has something different to show you. And I think even we as Africans, sometimes we don't know that. We think we are all the same. It's like, no, there are 54 countries. There's no way all 54 countries are the same. Even Kenya and Ethiopia are like friends, and they're not the same. Ghana and Nigeria, as much as we're not very close, but yet we're like brothers and sisters. We're very different. Togo, Nigeria, much closer. Cameroon, Nigeria, but we're not the same. So I think we ourselves are yet to understand the uniqueness of this continent. But I love the fact that I get to do that. I get to experience that. I get to see that and embrace it for being alive in a time like this.
And come back whenever you get the chance.
Exactly.
Even for 2 weeks.
Oh, even if it's for 2 weeks. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's just been, 4 years it's not too long, actually, yeah.
Isn't it?
People, like I have friends who went, girl, you have Nigeria to visit, you have here to come back to, so it's, and traveling is just increasingly difficult.
It is.
Like taking time off from work and budgeting, like it's a whole...
It is, but I think it's also about being intentional about it. If we want to complain about, and I'm not saying this as a general thing because I understand people have different experiences with finances, you know, but I will say that if you can save to plan a trip to a country, even if it's one country per year, I will say do it. if it means that you have to save from January down to December, if it means that you have to save $10, okay, maybe $10 is unrealistic, but maybe $100, for 12, okay, maybe that's also unrealistic. But if it means that you have to save something that amounts to enough for you to travel to a country, whether or not it's a country that has high standard of living or a country that has low standard of living, whatever country it is you go to, really, that you can spend comfortable enough but also experience the culture, I would highly recommend you do it. And I think one thing people tend to forget is that you travel according to your budget. If you're traveling in a backpack and you're not spending a lot but yet you're living a comfortable life, hey, that's the life of an actual on the budget traveler. That's the life of a smart traveler, because they know I don't live here, so me spending a lot right now is in my head. So why come and spend so much rather than just enjoy the culture and eat whatever I find? So there are different types of travelers. So whichever one works for you, really, you go for it.
And gotta get myself to travel at some point. At some point, yeah. Even to Kenya. Like my sisters and I have been thinking of that's the supposedly it should have been easier. Honestly.
Oh my gosh, you guys, her sisters are so cool. I could imagine like all of you having a show. I'm not gonna lie, because you all are so different, and I like that. I like how different you all are, and how cool you all are in your individuality, whatever that word is. It works.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you guys should definitely do it together. It would be a unique experience. But also try to travel alone when you have the chance.
As a lady.
Oh yeah, see,
In a
as
place
a lady,
I don't know.
I'm a lady too.
You did travel alone, but you went to study first, right, in Denmark? Like you did your masters, and then...
No, I didn't even study in Denmark. I did my masters, yes, but it was I think Switzerland and England. I'm saying Switzerland and England. I'm sure about England, but it was a combined sort of situation. I studied organizational culture and change, like leading innovation and change, basically. So it was a collaboration between, I think, Switzerland and England for me to get that master's, the MBA here.
So you were based in...
I was based in Denmark.
In Denmark?
Yeah.
And you had your own living situation.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't hear people saying, be careful in Denmark, or... Like, I don't think it's one of the more dangerous touristy places.
No, luckily it's not, actually. It's very safe. It's a very safe country. I'm very happy and very fortunate to be living in a country like Denmark, because it's safe. As a woman, I feel very safe. I'm a night crawler, I don't know if you've noticed, but we stayed up all night, by the way, talking to like 3-something yesterday, and that's when I'm alive. And I think that's when she's also alive, because her eyes were as bright as the sun. So being a night crawler, of course, I want to feel the freedom to go out and take a walk if I want to at night.
At 3 a.m.
I do that sometimes. Sometimes you just need to clear your head out.
This is actually one of my wishes. Like, I want to leave the house at 3 a.m. and not feel like I'll scare someone. Or...
You would scare someone.
Yeah, they'll be like, what is she... Because sometimes my sister, like, I would just tell her, you know what? What if we just wear, like, the ghost from the... What was it? The Ring or something? The lady with the hair in front of her face, and she just walks creepy.
Yeah, that's not scary at all, Winter. That
with
is
a white dress.
Very normal. Yeah. That's something that people do for breakfast. Yeah. That's not weird at all.
No, I was thinking I could take a walk that way.
Oh.
And whoever sees me will be like, she's not a living entity, and just stay away.
Yeah.
And I would be safe. That was an idea I had.
What if you met a ghost thief, like someone who steals from ghosts?
That is a theoretical situation I've never heard of.
My imagination is going crazy right now.
We've never... Girl, did you grow up on Goosebumps?
I did.
Like the books?
I
book series?
I did.
You read the Goosebumps books?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, we have Goosebumps. It's a book series, children's books, that had no business being children's books. Some
Absolutely.
Of those books.
There's a lot of books written for kids that I just have questions about. It's just... I got questions. I'm just thinking, like, what were the writers thinking? You really think a kid could comprehend this thing that you're writing right now? You think a kid could comprehend this?
But sticks. It's stuck. Like, some of those stories have stuck with me to this day.
Yeah.
And I think kids are in a better position to come, because now we'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, you know, what we were just saying. What do you mean? Like, the girl got stuck in a camera, alternate reality, and now she has to wear makeup because she's stuck in a black and white world. That one stuck with me. And one day, like, it started.
Why are you now? You see, when you say these things, I think one thing, again, I told you, like, there are two people that mess with my brain. I have my boss, because she knows I'm visual. Like, I visualize a lot of things. When people talk, I'm just visualizing. Then I have Andreas, who just blurbs out from his mouth, just says the most creepiest and nastiest things, and it just paints a picture in my head. And now I have you painting fucking ghost stories in my head now. So how am I supposed to recover? You know what? It's fine. It's
my
fine.
privilege.
It's okay.
You're welcome.
The image in my head right now. It's fine.
You're welcome. No, it's not. It wasn't gory or anything. She just, I don't know how it ended. I think she was free in the end, but she was the one that stuck in my head. With the visual thing, I think I'm with you on this one.
Yeah, right?
As I got older, it's like the opposite of desensitization, where the older I got,
the more messed up you
the
became.
more sensitive. No, the more sensitive I became. Like, when I was a kid, I used to be able to watch horror movies or like just watch anything, actually, like read Khaled Hosseini books. I'm sorry, Khaled Hosseini people, like lovers. I get it. He's a great writer, but very sad stories, like very traumatizing. And I don't think I can voluntarily go through like reread some of his books.
Have you watched the Jordan Peele movie? Nope.
You told me I couldn't. You told me I'm too sensitive. I asked, is it too gory?
Well,
is it?
I will say
gratuitous violence?
I don't know.
I don't do that.
It's not violent per se. It's one thing I love about Jordan's movies is that he has a way of working with color. Cinematography, of course, is always amazing. Color and texture. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I remember This Is
Us. Yeah.
This Is Us stuck with me too in a weird way.
Yeah.
No.
Was he the one who did Get Out? I think it was the one who did. Oh my God. Get Out.
Yeah.
I cannot watch that movie twice. It's like I watched the first one.
Because psychological thrillers I can do. Like, it's an art
Nope
form that
you should do. Nope.
Oh. Like, these days I just watch kids shows reruns
to keep your innocence.
Like, yeah, like part of me wants to go back. It's not that my times, honestly, I don't think times were easier back then. It wasn't. It's just predictable entertainment.
We weren't paying taxes back then.
True, but also a lot more things were confusing to me, and they're not that confusing to me anymore.
No, because now you know them.
And also I have some control over some things in my life, and that to me changed a lot of things in my mental health and how I perceive the world. Like the fact that I can control big chunks of my life, that I can be upset about something, or I can be unhappy about the way some things are going, and start initiating change, or talk to people who we can start this together. Like, just that is a part of adulthood that I would never be that nostalgic for my teenage self or my child self. So I don't know, the kids show thing, maybe I just don't want to be hooked to any adult entertainment. I would start a show and then like I'll have to finish it, and then sometimes the season doesn't come out, another season doesn't come out until like the next year or like 6 months later.
An issue.
Yeah, and I don't want to do that with a show of all things. I just want to have my dinner or my lunch and like have 20 minutes. Yeah, kids shows are 20 minutes.
Have you watched Rick and Morty?
Yes. I actually watched one while having dinner last night. Yeah. Nice. I thought Vanessa was watching with me, but she was not. It wasn't her.
It wasn't her.
she has an alter ego when she sleeps.
Oh my God.
I call her Monica.
Oh Lord, have mercy.
This is too much information. We'll probably cut this out if she minds me sharing this again. When she talks to us in coherent sentences, and it makes sense. She's like, leave me alone. I've decided I don't want to do my homework today or tonight, so let me continue sleeping. And then when she wakes up in the morning, she's like, why didn't you guys wake me up? I told you to wake me up. We're like, you talked to us. We had a conversation. We agreed that you needed to sleep. She was like, no, that wasn't, I never did that. She was like, I don't remember ever talking to you. Like, but then we came up with
That was the body. That was the body. The body was like, I'm tired as shit. The mind was like, you better do your homework. The brain is like, just calibrating, just waiting for a decision. And then the mind is like, get up and do your homework. Body's like, nope, too tired. Next morning, mind, I told you to do your homework. Brain, calibrating. But that's another conversation. See,
you visualized it.
I just visualized it.
As you should. Like, you'd make a good fiction writer.
I want to do that, dude. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's cartoons, I want to create like adult cartoons. There's a lot I want to do, honestly. I just need to focus at this point. Let's be very honest.
Same. You're focusing. You're doing a good. You're adding so much value and like leading in. She works in a company. She's works. Talk about where you work.
What I do? Oh my goodness. So I work with a company called Linkfire. It's an amazing company. If you're an artist out there, if you're a record label, if you're a producer, if you are. If you work with Warner Brothers, Sony, look, this is me giving free ads, by the way. Linkfire, talk to me later. It's a pretty cool company, honestly. And I think one of the reasons I say it's cool is because I have an amazing set of people who work on my team. An amazing boss who's so free and so open and so communicative. I have a team of great, amazing individuals who are so different, but yet so cool together. And it's really nice. The company culture is amazing. It's very transparent, it's open. Plus, it's a company built with a lot of internationals. So that means that we all have shared experiences, which makes it easy, of course, to bring conversations to the table as well. So I'm privileged and fortunate to work with a company like Linkfire that is willing to change with time. Because if there's anything I want to find in a company I work with, it's the fact that they're willing to change with time.
And they're only 8 years old?
Only 8 years old. Yeah.
That is not substantial time, but it's enough time to prove yourself.
It's enough time to prove yourself, absolutely. And they have been able to do that, and they are still doing that. And I like the journey of the company, it's the fact that I can see the journey. It's something visible. It's not hidden, and I like that.
Yeah. And for potential customers, I'm continuing this ad very unprofessionally. I opened the website and I was like, see, let me look this place up. And I saw the plans, like there was 3 different plans, I think, for someone who wants to join. So you can join as an individual. Yeah. You can join as a owner of a record label, even an indie record label.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was very clear. It was very well
put,
presented,
right?
And
our career page is pretty cute. I have to, not cute actually. It's beautiful in the sense that your eyes, when you go on some websites and the colors are just crazy, it's visually pleasing. It's not too much for your eyes, and it's not too wordy, and you have enough graphics to sort of take you around what's going on.
It guides you by itself. Yeah. It's like just three colors. I think I remember red and like gray and white. Yeah, I noticed UX, UI design, by the way. I'm just like...
Now we just need to convince you to sort of work within that area, because you are pretty cool, I'm just saying. But she's an architect. You want to talk about that? Why architecture?
I'm not a real architect yet. I'm not licensed. I'm not licensed.
That's on you. That's on you. I'm projecting. I'm projecting the future here. I am manifesting
probably
the
one
future.
day. Probably one day. Probably. Like making a book, or like making a song, or making an article itself, like... Okay, an article is not that daunting a task, but...
It depends on who is doing it, right? Can I add, she's a natural, by the way. She is a natural. If you are out there and you are looking for a writer, it doesn't matter whether you want them to write about ghosts or write about buildings, reach out. Reach out to her.
I'm the host.
Yeah, I know she's the host. I'm happy for her. I'm happy for her that she's hosting.
Agnes.
Yes, but as a host, I'm just gonna sell her out. She's amazing. She's an amazing writer. Do not hesitate to contact her. You better tell them where to contact you. Cool.
My links are in the description, or I don't know where this will be posted. Just somewhere.
Subscribe.
Somewhere in the bottom of this video.
Something. We'll see.
How would you describe Mead initiative?
Mindset Enhancement for Africa's Development, Mead Initiative. Yeah. Mead, I think, was a baby that came out of Prime Basement. One of the visions I had for Mead was that it would be a company where data can be basically sourced from by governmental organizations, by private organizations, that they can use this data to sort of foster social collaborations. For government organizations, if you're going to go into a specific area to do projects, it's important for you to understand what the culture is in the area, what the language is in the area, what type of projects that people are interested in, what type of growth opportunities they want to see before just going in and creating a project. Because I think, if anything, time has taught us that making that mistake will always end up with you having to do the same project over again, and it ends up leading to nothing. So to avoid time wasting and money wasting and resource wasting and all that stuff, it's to make sure that at least you start with data. And then on the people side, on the citizen side, it's also a company that is focused on creating job opportunities for, it's broken into three categories. For one category, of course, we have people who are undergraduates and graduates who are looking for jobs. So we have a career page for that. And then you have people within the financial sector who are small business owners, who are people who have kiosks. These people who have kiosks may not necessarily have gone to school, but they know their shit. So how can we enable them to continue to know their shit? How can we put their businesses out there? For some who are capable enough to handle social media, we actually create sort of a social media plan for them. For some who don't understand the likes of social media, we link them up with an intern who can take them through that process. For some of them who don't have necessarily financial management training, we give that to them, because we want to make sure that, especially in Africa, where you people eat hand to mouth, that you're able to at least have something saved by the end of the year. So a huge practice right now is also looking into how we can help not just small businesses, but how we can actually take it up a notch a bit. If we can help medium-sized, businesses who are medium, exactly, within the mid-market, area, who may have staff but don't know how to manage their staff. How do you use HR data to actually manage people? So it again comes down to managing people. It again comes down to understanding resources that is available. And it also comes down to your output, because as much as we put in a lot of work, we also want to see a specific outcome. So it's also making sure that we monitor impact, because for a long time, I think people talk about awareness. They talk about activities, but nobody talks about impact. And impact is not just something you measure within the first year. It's something that you follow through with 5 years. So we look into, if we invest in this woman or this man who has a kiosk, in this first year, how much are they able to save? If we train them for 1 year and we let go, are they able to continue that practice? And if we come back in 2 years to reevaluate where you are as a business, what is the impact on that, in your business with the program that you've been through with us? If we come back in 5 years, is there a development? Is there a growth? Is there a mindset shift? Because that's also something we focus on, is the fact that we are there to enhance your mindset. We're not there to change your mindset. We're there to enhance where you are. If you're a small business and you say, you know what, my focus is not to make, savings at the end of the year, then to enhance that for you, we're making sure that you at least have a good efficiency within your business. It may not necessarily end in, you earning anything at the end of the year, but that your way of handling your business becomes better. It could also be that maybe with that, you then change your mind and say, okay, maybe now I want to earn more, because now you see the potential. So a lot of times it's not about just creating and giving solutions. It's also about just giving people a bit of awareness on what the current situation is with their business. So, and it's also something I'm very passionate about. If anyone knows me, they know two things: that I love people and that I love data. When you combine those two things together, I think that's what mindset enhancement for Africa's development gives to you.
Yeah, even in Prime Basement, which is the what we were working on together years ago, it was mindset. Mindset was a focus that you kept going for and that you kept emphasizing. And at the time, I thought, at least I was new here in Addis Ababa, and I thought most of the issue was in terms of resources and in terms of what is available to people. But like you said, they go hand in hand. And this is something that I slowly grew to see, that there's a way that resources would be shared that makes it the most efficient that it can be. So like I'm curious, like when someone wants to join or wants to be a recipient of this, like do you find them? Do they find you? Like, do they go on the website? Like, how does it work?
Well, you could, right now our LinkedIn is not as active as it should be. Okay. But you could definitely follow us on the website, meadinitiative.org, I think, or meadinitiative.com.
Link in description.
Meadinitiative.com. I just remembered we closed .org, but meadinitiative.com definitely. Yeah, and I'll also write it in the description as well.
Or somewhere. It will be here.
It will be somewhere.
It will be here.
Yeah, so for sure, go on there. If you are looking for a job as a student or a graduate, we also have a career page. If you have questions about the organization, if you want to invest, we also have a page for that as well. Or, if you just want to chat, we have a chat bot that's actually quite efficient. And aside from a chat bot, we also have someone who's behind it who also manages the chat as well. So just feel free if you have questions, just hop on there and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, that is cool. I think this is the first time I'm hearing about the idea like entirely.
Yeah.
So like I'm also asking questions for myself. I'm like, so
just out of curiosity.
Out of curiosity. Have you started here in Ethiopia or?
With Mead Initiative, I actually want to. I want to expand it to Ethiopia.
So it's in Nigeria.
It's in Nigeria, yeah.
Okay.
I want to expand. I think the expansion plan is to look into markets and I say market because before I would have NGOs like non-profits where people work and they don't, as you know, there's some non-profit where people do it on a voluntary base, but I also want people who'll be working with me to get paid. I think it's something that I've also learned being a volunteer myself is that volunteers do put a lot in. And it's my job as the founder to ensure that they get something, at least, if not for salary, but something for recognition, something for appreciation, because they do deserve it. You are a volunteer yourself. You put a lot into it. And I think as much as you don't expect it, I'm pretty sure that the founder would love to recognize that hard work that you put into it. And I think a lot of times, actually, volunteers are underrated. Volunteers do a lot of the work in the world that we don't see and we don't know. And I think they deserve a lot of credit just as much as 9-to-5 people do. And I want to bring that into the project of actually paying my I want to call them co-workers. I don't want to call them volunteers. They deserve that. The vision is much bigger than I am. So in order for me to enhance that vision and continue to shape it, I also need to enable that myself. So
have you also found, that is cool, I was thinking about volunteers, interns, unpaid interns, and how that's just a system of its own now, like a way of exploitation in a lot of industries, especially in media and the creative sector. It's like, would you do this gig, or would you do this thing for free or for publicity, or so it's cool that you recognize that. But I'm also thinking about like the data. You said you're very data driven and you're working in a the main point of this company that you're working with is you're managing data, right? You're working with data. So how has that translated to this? To this. When you land in Nigeria, or when you think you're going to come here? Because at least in my experience, when we try to map a lot of the things that we saw in our site visits in architecture school, and they sent us to some neighborhoods which we've never been to before, and they would tell us, you have to map what it's like. You have to have enough data that you would give the person who hasn't been to the place a good idea of what you experienced. And it's very hard to document a lot of the experiences we saw in terms of data. So like that's how I feel. Do you feel there's a resistance there with how you map the data?
I think data is beautiful. Look at me getting excited. Data is amazing, because
nerd.
I accept it. Call me a nerd. I accept it. Okay.
It's a compliment.
I accept it
with love.
For a while, I used to run away from that, but I accept it because nerds are the ones shaping the world. They've always been, right? Yeah. So, but you also a nerd. Look at you.
Yeah.
Nerd sisters.
It's a beloved. Yeah. It's an endearing term.
Nerd sisters. But yeah, I think for me, data comes from thinking about an. Okay, there are two approaches to it, right? You can also think of an outcome and how you can get this data to sort of lead you to that outcome, or you can get data and see where it takes you. So for me, when it comes to data, it's more about the source of data and the type of data and how you're actually acquiring that data, right? So for example, like you said, if you go to this local area and you ask survey questions, you cannot ask people who live in, say, Wolaita, for example. Okay, I'm not saying people who are in Wolaita don't understand survey questions. That's not what I'm saying. But you cannot go randomly and ask a person in Wolaita, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? They might answer the question. But a woman who doesn't speak English is probably going to look at you and just laugh and walk away. They're that sweet, you know. But you have to also understand how they would assimilate the question. You might not ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel? You could go with, what makes you happy? You can start from there and then make it easy for her to answer that question when you get to, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you?
Emotional intelligence
Emotional
meets
intelligence.
data
There you
mapping.
go.
Damn.
There you go.
Okay.
So it really helps. It helps for, I think in today's market, to be honest, when you find more data people, a lot of companies are focusing more on people who are not just data driven, but also empathetic. Because then when you put those two together, what you have is not necessarily someone who's emotionally intelligent, but someone who at least understands the people side of things, but that can also prompt the people side of things to get the data that they're looking for. So it really helps to combine those two. And it's the same when I go to Nigeria, when I come to Ethiopia, when I go anywhere. It's like I see, of course, you see what exists, but in order for me to fully grasp what exists, I need to put it into data, because don't forget that our mind can be biased. So to avoid that biasness, I would rather work with data. Then I know that, of course, I have my biased way of thinking, but data never lies. So
You make the data though.
We make the data, but remember, when you map it, exactly. And that's why most times when people work in data projects, they don't work alone. You either work with somebody else.
True.
Right?
So there's a consensus.
There's a consensus, exactly.
Yeah, that's usually how science works. Like you have to review it peer to peer. You have to settle on, okay, I think this would work. Yeah. And it also helps to have people with different perspectives, you know, because if you have people with the same perspective, then it's probably going to be biased, you know. So I mean, we're all leaning in one end. What's the point?
Towards this output. Yeah. So yeah.
Is there any other thing that you're working on that you're passionate about currently?
Well, passion. Geez. Okay. I'm also, just like you're working on your podcast, I'm also working on my podcast as well. And just like you,
it's everything in the description.
Everything in this description. Yeah. I'm working on my podcast. I'm now, accepting that, it's been a while since I've done music. So I'm going back to, doing music. I miss performing. I miss having, a chance to just feel nothingness. It's such a weird thing to say, but when I am on stage, I'm not thinking. I'm not thinking about anything else. It's the same thing when I paint. When I paint, I feel nothing. But yet I'm painting something. I'm painting emotion, right? So it's the fact that in my head I'm not thinking too much, but I'm just translating what I feel into it without even thinking.
It's almost automatic.
It feels that way, and that's something I still cannot understand. So if anyone out there understands the process of art or being a creative and why the passion lies there and why when you do it you don't think too much about it, please just let me know, because I think that's also an interesting concept to talk about, because
flow
exactly
getting into the mystical origins, or like the way people have different interpretations of it and what it means and where it comes from, but people rarely want to take credit for the thing that comes out when they sit down in front of a piano or in front of a painting or something. They'll be like, no, there was something else there. There was something else. I heard something, or I was inspired by something. So I hear a lot of people talk about that, actually. It's one of the things that, I like listening to all of these different perspectives about that. Like some would be more on the religious side, more on the mystical side, and So she's working on a podcast that is... You have had how many guests so far?
Well, I do have 6 guests so far, but it's not out yet. And I'm really looking forward to putting it out because these are 6 amazing guests with 6 different topics and 6 different perspectives. And I'm a fan of perspective. I think perspective keeps me grounded. Perspective helps me avoid the bias in certain areas. And perspective also helps me, open. It keeps me open. It keeps me open because the world is not just viewed with my lens. It's viewed by billions of other people's lenses. So why not? Yeah.
It's good to keep the mind active and engaged.
Oh yeah. But how would you describe your creative process? Because Winta, you are quite a creative person, to be honest. You paint, you write. Winta makes, the way she makes books, by the way, she's amazing. She would remodel, she would create. I remember there was a specific book you had created for me. I don't know what you did, but it was a black cover. I don't know what you used for the cover. And it was just like white paper in the middle and very good quality white paper. I still have that at home, by the way.
I need to know what you're talking about.
It was a book.
I need to take a picture for me. It was 4 years ago. Thank you.
It was 4 years ago.
Thank you,
I still have it. And when I saw it, I was like, this woman. Like, and again, being an opportunist, that's the word you mentioned earlier. I'm an opportunist. I'm always thinking, if it doesn't go this way, it has to go this way. If it doesn't go this way, it has to go this way. If it doesn't go this way, let's try something else, I'm always an opportunist in my head. So when I saw that the first time, I was thinking, we could be business partners.
It would be an inefficient.
You would be the creative.
It takes.
I would be the manager.
It can't be mass produced. It can't, at least not yet.
It doesn't have to be mass produced. It just goes to those who want it.
And to those
who understand it.
Who you love. And like I'd make one for my mom.
Exactly.
I'd make one for, so I think that would take the passion out. Because I tried a sketchbook business at some point.
Oh, you did? How did that go?
I refuse to use leather. Okay. And I know a lot of people love using leather for their sketchbooks and for their, and I don't like doing that. So, and then also it wasn't very efficient. Like if it was gonna be worth the time I was putting into it, and especially going to deliver it and things, it wasn't really
like the return
feasible
on
at some
investment
point.
Was not worth it.
Otherwise, like, I went to Mercato, I went to Bombterra.
Oh, you were pumped. You were
pumped.
Like
the thing is, I still use the things I bought from that day, the glue and the hard papers that I bought, the cardstock papers and stuff. Like I used it for months, I think years to come. So A4 sheets, a whole lot of A4 sheets. So like, I don't regret. But currently, I'm working on a journal with my sister on like making a digital journal format, and it's something that I'm going to attach to my class that I put out on Skillshare, and the class is called Think Visual. And
Think Visual. Please check that out on Skillshare. I highly recommend. Check it out.
Link
in the description.
In the
We've
place.
talked about so many initiatives today.
Yeah, I mean we're excited about, like, we're young. We're like trying out projects and going into endeavors head first. Like just head first. You know, like we're doing this thing. Yeah, and the class was actually it was fun to try. Like I actually went out and one of my friends invited me to teach entrepreneurs to draw their business idea, or to try to communicate it in a way that would be more visual and would be easy to understand. So it would be for potential investors or clients.
Nice.
And by the end of it, like the next week, they came back with drawings. I told them, bring back drawings, but I know people don't like to draw. Like people are always scared of being judged. Like they're just like, if you're not this great artist, or if you're not this great creative or something, I don't want to draw. Or like you give them a pencil and a paper, they're like, but I suck.
They make it sound like the great artist just woke up and was a great artist. Like woke up, I'm a great artist.
Or like it's a crime to like destroy a piece of paper or something. They're like, oh man, but if I scribble, it's gonna be like so bad, and then this paper would have to be thrown away. I'm like, I'm sorry about the paper, but yeah, that's how it goes. You're gonna try to draw, and then it's about expressing. And I love expressive drawing. I love dynamic drawing. Like this is something we learned in architecture school. We were supposed to create these quick sketches in the span of like one afternoon or like half an afternoon, and our teachers would be like, okay, you have this idea, now I want it drawn. Like just make a simple drawing, just to show me what's in your head. Because when you explain something to someone verbally, the image that ends up forming in their head can be completely different from the one that you were trying to convey. So like by the end of it, you're like, okay, so we're on the same page with this. And then when you ask them to recreate what you're talking about, it's something else. So you're like, okay, I think I need to, like, even if it's a simple sketch, I just need to show you what I mean. And then they would be like, oh, okay. And then with the class, I was just trying to remove that judgment and remove that fear.
That's really cool. I like that.
In drawing.
Like
so thank you. Thank you,
that's
dear.
so cool and so considerate as well.
Thank you.
See, you're a cool person, Winta. You are pretty cool.
You too.
Yeah.
You too. Tell us.
You are pretty cool.
You too. What's your favorite dish?
My favorite dish.
With injera. Like, what's
With
the
injera.
favorite thing that comes with injera?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this might be basic for you, but I like shiro, okay? Any day. Shiro with injera, I'm sorry, does it. Again, I'm pretty basic, but
it is basic.
that's on you. If you think it's basic, that's on you.
It is.
But I did try something new. It's like a pancake, but it's not a pancake. It's hard. It's harder than a pancake. And I think it's made of banana or something like that.
Are you sure you tried it here?
Yeah, I think it's blended banana, and then it's fried. So it looks like it's toasted. It has the grilled marks on it.
Where did you try this?
In Ethiopia.
Where? I want to know.
In a
specifics.
restaurant. It's an Ethiopian restaurant. Again, it has like a, how do I describe this?
I feel like you guys, if whoever is seeing this is like immediately recognize what you're talking about,
Just
I'll be the dumb one. I'll be like, I'm here to try this.
So it's not bread exactly, but it's usually square shaped, and then it has grill marks on it, and then you break it, and then you take it. You break it.
It's crunchy.
It's crunchy. You break it, and then you take it with the what? It could be meat.
Is it? It's sour, right?
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah. I think my mom.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the name because I'm gonna be butchered for it. But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't have I don't think it has bananas.
I tried that.
You threw me off. It's like there's nothing with bananas that is baked.
I don't know. The first time I tried it, I was like, wow, this is actually very cool. I've never tried this before, but I liked how it felt. I'm very particular. Of course, everybody's very particular about taste, but for me, like you've seen, I'm very selective with food. Not necessarily selective. I just don't eat a lot. So with that, I noticed I finished it. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Huh.
Yeah.
So you like that, and you like
that.
shiro.
Shiro, yes.
Shiro is good.
Bombolino, but you don't eat bombolino with injera. But anybody out there who wants to supply free bombolinos every day, I'm your girl.
Sponsor bombolino. Is there bombolino? I don't think there's any like what do you call it? A big corporation or something. It's a small business thing.
Look, I will highly take the job of an ambassador for Bombolino. You know,
you're like, I'm here to represent. Like, go to Copenhagen and be
adopt me as an Ethiopian. It's fine. Just supply me with Bombolinos.
Damn.
Okay, very passionate.
I think this is the first time I've heard someone
passionate about Bombolinos
that much.
I love Bombolinos, especially with tea. Oh Lord, have mercy.
Is it the one that's like square-ish and crunchy?
The round ones.
And
the
crunchy.
Round ones.
And like inside, like it's hard to break, but once you break it,
I'm not the hard to break one.
Oh,
girl, I don't like anything hard in my mouth except for some things. But hard to break. No. Usually, I don't like dough products that are hard to break because I just don't like hard food in my mouth in general. But Bombolino, what I love about it, it's the round one. It's soft. You break it.
I think you had a good supplier.
I'm
too,
so passionate.
I've had some bad supplies in college, in university.
We're talking about Bombolino, by the way. Nothing illegal. Just so
it's no, the good ones though, rare, very rare, because.
You remember that restaurant at EIABC?
Don't call my alma.
Your alma mater?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, IABC.
We can always scratch that out. Sorry.
IABC. No, it's good. It's just I was talking about the restaurant. Which one?
There was one at the back, all the way at the back, and they had
Is it up the hill?
Oh.
And then
you go down.
You go down.
Okay, so you come out of the office we used to stay at, right?
Yeah.
And then you just
Go downwards.
go downwards, yes.
Messi.
Messi. Oh,
Yeah,
Messi. Her
Messi.
Bombolinos were the best.
Messi's a
God.
real one. Messi's a real one. I need to see her.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Man, that woman fed us when we were in need of it.
Yeah.
We were needy children, and we were just like, we don't have the money right now.
But
or
you were still gonna pay eventually, though. That's what I liked about her. She was a business person.
Oh yeah, true.
She was also very sweet.
True.
Yeah.
Or like at night, we'd be like, please don't close. Like, we just need like one last meal because we're gonna spend all night working on a model or like some. We're masochists. We didn't need to do that. We didn't, and I feel like maybe because we saw each other, like some of us would work very hard. We're like, she's not sleeping. What is she doing? She's gonna make something really nice, and I'll be stuck with my mediocre model or something. And then you're like, let me outdo myself this time. Or your group member, like the people you're working with, would be like, let's make something awesome this time. It'd be like, I love to do that, but I know what goes into that. That's my sleep, my beautiful sleep hours, and my So school was. We're talking about Bombolino. Bombolino
but
depends.
I'm also listening to your experience of school as well. I think a lot of people actually underestimate the experience of schooling in Africa.
Yeah.
It gives you mental flexibility. I'm not gonna lie. It's not just Ethiopia. Trust me. Trust me, baby. Trust me. If you ever get the chance to visit a Nigerian university, which I feel like you will in the future because you are an intellectual, any of them, just ask. She is an intellectual. She is.
Okay, keep going.
I will happily promote my friend.
Which one?
Okay?
Where do I go? Lagos?
Happily promote my friend.
Do I go to Lagos?
Go to Lagos, go to Abuja, go anywhere. It's the same because the schools are very, to be honest, I think from the experiences I've had with different curriculums, the Nigerian curriculum prepares you to be mentally flexible. The only unfortunate thing is that there's not a lot of resources to enable that. You have students who take 13 courses in a semester on the first year of school. And then maybe it becomes 14, and then maybe it becomes 10 in the next one. And then your final year, maybe you need to pass everything. And as you're going, you have to pass everything. You cannot fail one. You have to pass everything.
And you can't take any... There aren't any what do you call them?
Majors and minors.
Yes, you can't pick.
There are some universities, like private universities, that you could have the opportunity to do that, and of course there are some government universities who are starting to do that. So again, it's no surprise that when you travel, you do see a lot of Nigerians like in good positions, right? Because the education system, I think, prepares them for that. It's very theoretical, highly theoretical, but it's also challenging. Because a lecturer will come into class and ask you, what do you think about this? And if you're not able to come up with something on the spot, that's what is grading you on. Not the fact that you cannot take the exam well, but the fact that you're not able to be logical on the spot and be practical about your way of thinking.
That is confrontation.
It's not. It's actually critical thinking.
Yeah, but like someone coming to you, putting you on the spot, and it's a morning...
It could be a conversation. He doesn't have to make it like he doesn't have to come and go, hey, you. Some of them do. Let's not get it twisted. Some of them do. But it's always, it's most times it's a conversation to question, to sort of evaluate your critical thinking, right?
Okay.
So, but that's that. Yeah, I think I'm done talking. Yeah, give it a shot.
Huh. Man. I keep thinking our university...
It's crazy.
There's some places where we're really not... as efficient as we could be, and like our main classes, our design classes were very vigorous, challenging, and we produced some of the works that I'm most proud of came out of that, and the collaborations that I had there, and the fact that they pushed us. But then I wish we didn't have so many other deadlines that would like trail so close to the final jury or the final submission of our main project, because that by itself can be like, honestly, that's a full-time job. Like doing a great design, doing the research, doing the case study, like you look through all the different case studies and the different forms or iterations that you can go for the design. Like that is a lot of work, and I get some subjects to complement that, to inform me about that, but like each of these many subjects having their own deadlines weekly, it's like it feels like work for the sake of work. And yeah, I don't know. I don't get the... I don't get it being that like voluminous, like having that many things. It can be intense without that.
Yeah.
We're just having to divide our attention now because we're not doing the work we're most proud of sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I think there is a final. Is this gonna be a final? Oh yeah, I was just gonna say whoever likes sils or firfir, try it with mustard sauce on the side. It's really good.
I have questions.
My family were skeptical, and then they tried it out. Just the yellow.
I have questions.
Just dip it, just a little bit. The people actually use the traditional mustard. My mom will explain it. It makes sense.
Is it mitmata or?
Mitmita is not. I don't think mitmita is mustard.
No, it's not. I just like mitmita.
Mitmita is good. It gives that vibe, but like more bitter and more on the
liquidy side.
No, it's actually more gooey.
Oh
I love it with mustard sauce.
I'm open-minded. I will try this eventually.
You should.
Eventually.
Yeah. What's your main why? Like, why do you do everything that you do? Like, when you cut through like the different expectations society has and stuff. Like, there's so many things that you're getting out of your way to do, and so much effort that goes into it, and simultaneously, by the way, like, you're doing all of these different things. Like, what's the main drive for you? Like, what's that fire? Where does it come from?
I think the fire for me is knowing that I am part of a statistic of people that, if not for the fact that I had the parents I had that actually instilled the strong values in me, maybe I wouldn't be who I am today. So my why stems from having values, coming from parents who did not, wait for their challenge to define their way of thinking, but basically just thriving through the challenge. I have a grass to grace story. I grew up seeing my mom hawk things on her head, to having her own restaurants, to working as a nurse, to going back to having, going a kiosk, to having her own kiosk and running things herself. And a father who, didn't go to college, but yet took courses and was able to work, as an international, represent internationally. When you have a story like that, you literally have no excuse, because this is even at a time when they didn't have the resources that I have today. So what exactly is my excuse? And when it comes to the whole why, a lot of times when I get that question, what is your why? I usually say my why is why not.
That's a cop out.
It is, but that is my why. Why not? It's so complicated and it's vague, but why not? Just because I come with this complicated story of a background and of a childhood doesn't mean I shouldn't, do what I feel I need to do to help me thrive in society, or to help me map out society. Mapping out society for me includes being part of society, and being part of society includes taking society along with me as well. It means that if I earn +1, I need to take somebody else with me to earn that +1 with. So that is just my place in society. I think for me that works, and that's why I say why not. It doesn't hurt to do what I do,
Well, it takes a lot, though.
It takes a lot.
It can be good enough to be good enough.
Exactly. It takes a lot.
Why not be good enough?
I answered exactly. Why not be good enough? Why not take that extra step? Why not? Why
good
not?
Enough is just.
And it's also subjective, right?
It's good.
It's subjective.
Yeah. But like, the thing is, why do you push yourself to think that no, you have to go further? You have to. You personally have to do this and have to.
I think it's also it's me against me. It's usually not me against others and comparing what I do to others. It's more me against me. It's like, if you're able to do this, then maybe you can actually do this too.
To what end?
But there's no end. I think humans, we're always trying to find an end. An end to what? Our imagination has no limit. Our way of thinking has no limit. There is no limit to imagination. So why put an end to that? If your imagination in itself, the first thing you think about when I think about Mead, for example, is, what would it be like if I had a website that had an opportunity for people to apply for jobs? That's already me imagining stuff. I've never put it into existence, but the fact that I'm only imagining it, and maybe I'm inspired by another company that does the same, helps me to sort of shape how I want that to go out. So there's no limitation to what your imagination can do. The only thing that comes to mind is, of course, resources. That's usually the limitation.
And the anxiety of getting to the next step.
Exactly.
Always getting to the next step. I'm like, is the anxiety worth the chase?
And I don't think about it as a chase. That's the thing, is that I draw a map and I just act on it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And one of the mantras I use that helps me with that, I think, is that the strategy may change, but the vision remains the same. That's my personal mantra. So once I think about that, of course, it's already accepting the fact that things will not work out. There will be changes. But in all of this, the vision stays the same. But obviously, when changes happen, the strategy changes. So
is it easy to bounce back from?
Oh no! Oh no! Oh gosh! Especially financially, sometimes emotionally, sometimes psychologically, it's not easy. But accepting that change is part of the process really does help to deal with it, because once you accept that, okay, for good and for bad, this has happened, my way forward is this, or my way forward could be this. And it also helps to have people who are well-rounded around you as well. People like you, for example. If I have an idea, I can bounce off of you and talk to you about it and see where your head is at, because I can trust you to give me a good enough sort of perspective to it, because you're not biased, and it really helps to have non-biased people around you. It really helps to have people who may not necessarily understand the vision, but to a large extent can relate to what you're doing, because then they can sort of help you see the blind spots, because you're not the only one carrying the goal. The goal will always be much bigger than the individual. So it helps to have people who are well-rounded around you.
All right, Agnes, I have one last question for you.
One last question.
And we wrap up with this. I feel like we have had, I don't know how long we have spent.
I don't know.
And we
how
haven't
long
felt the
talking.
time passing. Oh, it's an hour.
My goodness.
An hour.
I will be ditching this place in 3 minutes.
So we're going to be leaving you guys with one last book that you've loved in the past recent history. So what book would that be? What would you recommend?
Yeah, I will definitely recommend, it's a book titled Digital. It's by Joshua Omojuwa. It was written in 2019. And the full title is Digital, the New Code of Wealth. And the reason I'm recommending it is because there's a lot of changes going on right now in the economy, when it comes to investment, when it comes to payments, when it comes to systems of managing funds, and it's important as an individual in a society to understand what possibilities are out there in terms of how your money will be managed, how your money will be used, how you can actually get return on investment from your money. And especially in the era of cryptocurrency and Ethereum, and there's a lot of them out there. So it's just good to at least get a bit of an understanding of what exists out there and how you can maybe capitalize on the market. So why not?
I think that's a wrap.
Yeah.
That's a wrap for us.
Thank you so much for having me as well. I really had a good time.
Me
I had
too.
a good time. It's always a good time with you.
I didn't feel the 1 hour and
I didn't either. But I'm gonna have to hop on. I'll hop out very soon.
She'll have to leave.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to have tea first, and then we're gonna.
Let's do it.
We're gonna have tea now. Yes. So bye, guys. Have a lovely day. I don't have a catchphrase yet, so.
Yes.
Be abundantly blessed.
Be abundantly blessed. Abundantly blessed.